All right, now let's get a check on what's playing out in the global space at this point. Yeah, we know. Yeah, Business Morning. We've changed the format, somewhat at this time. We're having John McQuarrie now. Tell us what's playing out in the global economy. Ini, it's great to have you on this side. Happy New Week.
Happy New Week, and happy welcome back to about an hour of business morning.
Yeah, 1 hour of Business Morning.
Yeah, so now we can spread our tentacles. We can do outside Nigeria, outside Africa, and see what's happening in the global scene. I guess that's one opportunity that we have coming back to 1 hour of Business Morning. So I don't know if it's to say more work for you or congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, more work.
I know Isaac did leak one of your secrets, that you have another job, laddie.
Yeah,
I'm going to ensure that I investigate that.
Yeah, because he said Nigerians have a lot of jobs.
A lot of Nigerians have more than one job.
More than one job.
Yeah.
So maybe 3 or 4. But, it's quite interesting, talking about the global scene at this point. I remember when you and I were reporting about the Russia-Ukraine war, we talked about it a lot.
Yes, we had a special program then.
Exactly.
For it.
But now peace talks on the cards.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful, and I do hope that it does come through, because President Trump promised us, in fact, he said he was going to ensure that there's peace before he gets into the White House. So he missed that target, but let's hope that he can get it. Because I'm hearing there's a talks going on, and President Zelensky is not there. Europe is also complaining that they're not being carried along. Meanwhile, we do know that the economy has also been very well affected by the war in Ukraine. They've also been of great aid, to Ukraine all through this period. So having the peace talks
without those parties,
without those ones, and we know Ukraine is supposed to be a member of what's that body in the EU that they're also seeking to be, and it's all part of the EU. They have boundaries with those countries. Remember when Polish farmers in Poland were protesting, because of the help being given to farmers in Ukraine. So, I mean, having peace talks without the neighboring and affected countries. It's quite
interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, laddie,
Trump wants what he wants.
Yeah, but Trump cannot always get what he wants. All right. Okay, so now let's see what's going on outside Trump. And so we'll start from Asia. In Japan, we see the economy expansion in the 4th quarter. That's their GDP. It beats analysts' expectations quarter on quarter, and annualized growth boosted by a jump in export. Preliminary government data shows on Monday that GDP grew 0.7% quarter on quarter, more than the 0.3% rise expected by economists, and then it's expanded by 0.4% in the previous quarter. A jump in export is what boosted this GDP, while domestic demand was a drag on growth, contracting marginally. Capital expenditure also went up 0.5% quarter on quarter, but it missed the estimate of 1% rise. And then the GDP data comes against the backdrop of Japan's central bank raising rates to 0.5%. That's the highest level since October 2008, and it offers more room to stick with a monetary tightening. And yes, we're talking about U.S. and Ukraine there. U.S. President Donald Trump hopes to secure access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals, but it hit a wall over this weekend after President Volodymyr Zelensky rejected the bid on the grounds that it was too focused on United States interests. Well, what do you expect? President Trump has said it. It's all about the U.S. Prospect of an economic pact in the exchange for Washington's support for the war-torn country has gained traction over the recent days amid talk of a wider deal to end the war. But Zelensky says that the offer tabled thus far did not provide any specific security guarantees for his country. Still, officials at Munich Security Conference have said that there's scope to negotiate a deal that's palatable to both sides. U.S. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has said that such a deal could be a game changer in resolving the conflict and a nightmare for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Well, from there, let's see the techs. Intel's rivals, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company and Broadcom, they are each eyeing potential deals that would break the U.S. chip-making icon in two. Wall Street Journal reports that, citing people that are familiar with the matter, Broadcom has been closely examining Intel's chip design and marketing business. The journal reports that the company had discussed a potential bid with its advisors, but would likely only proceed if it found a partner for Intel's manufacturing business. Talk about competition going on right there in the ICT or IT world. Well, TSMC, which is the world's biggest contract chip maker, has separately studied controlling some or all of Intel's chip plants, potentially as part of an investor consortium or other structure. Broadcom and TSMC are now not working together, but all of the talks so far are preliminary, largely informal, according to reports on the matter. Now, still staying in the IT area, DeepSeek is in the news again. This time it's from South Korea. South Korea's Data Protection Authority said new downloads of the Chinese AI app DeepSeek had been suspended in the country after DeepSeek acknowledged failing to take into account some of the agency's rules on protecting personal data. The service of the app will be resumed once improvements are made in accordance with the country's privacy law and Personal Information Protection Commission. This was released at a press briefing. The measure that came into force on Saturday aims to block new downloads of the app, and the agency said though DeepSeek's web service remains accessible in the country, the Chinese startup appointed legal representatives last week in South Korea and had acknowledged partially neglecting considerations of the country's data protection. Italy's Data Protection Authority also said last month that it had ordered DeepSeek to block its chatbots in the country after failing to address the regulator's concerns over its privacy policy. But DeepSeek has not immediately responded to all of this. So is this a temporary roadblock, or will the U.S. win over DeepSeek? We'll see in the coming days. Now let's move over to the UK now. And thankfully we have Juliana joining us for this. Hi Juliana, good morning. And well, good to have you back on our elongated business morning. I guess top on the list for conversations this morning is what's going on from President Trump to other parts of the world. The latest one, of course, is the steel. I know yourself and Ladi talked about this, but what's the latest? We hear that UK is warning US steel on US steel tariff that it could harm both countries. But do we have any improvement on what we've heard before now?
Good morning, Annie. No, the conversation hasn't actually moved any further than what was discussed last week. I think what we're awaiting is further movement from US President Donald Trump. I think the UK political elite, they're quite worried at the moment. I think worried is probably a really good description for the mood music in the UK. I think all of us have really enjoyed, to be fair, the kind of blockbuster events we've seen from the Oval Office with the signing of these executive orders. But of course, there has been fear put into the UK steel industry because of the potential of a 25% tariff, of course, not just on steel, but on aluminium. I think when the news first broke, we did hear a total uproar, as to be expected, from leaders within the sector who said that Donald Trump had basically put a sledgehammer through it. And I think for perspective, it's good to kind of dig down at the numbers. Now, at the moment, only 5% of steel exports in the UK head to America. So this wouldn't impact the entirety of the sector. I think it's worth about £400 million per year. But as we know, this isn't just about one jigsaw piece. This is about the whole puzzle. And yes, there are concerns about, what this would mean in the long term for the UK economy. Now, the conversation has gone twofold. As we know, a lot of people enjoy getting into online spats with US President Donald Trump. Perhaps it's because it makes them popular. But Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and the UK Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, have been really toeing the line, very careful not to offend the US President. So they, on the record, have been very, very optimistic, again, hoping, seeking that there will be some sort of free trade deal amongst the two allies. But also, I think most importantly, they have highlighted the fact that the UK-US trade imbalance isn't as wide as other countries. So I think Westminster are keeping their fingers crossed, hoping that Donald Trump exempts the UK from these levies.
Well, I bet some parts of the world are also expecting the same thing, Juliana, because, I mean, we know the UK and the US, are they brothers, are cousins, but, you know, it's been a close relationship, so we do hope, but we'll be keeping our ears close to the ground on that. Now, this talks about peace talks with between Russia and Ukraine. We've seen the EU complain that they are not being carried along. I wonder what the UK stance is, or if they are part of the peace talks.
Yeah, this is pretty serious. I've just seen some pictures live, just as you were talking with Laddie, of the Foreign Secretary, Marco Rubio, arriving in Saudi Arabia for those peace talks. I believe Volodymyr Zelensky has also arrived in the UAE. And again, you know, we're getting on really dangerous times. I think, you know, there is certainly going to be a new trajectory towards defence and Europe, and a lot of this was sparked from J.D. Vance's trip to Europe last week, where, as we know, at the Munich Security Conference, he totally ripped you know, the rule book apart, and he said, you know, that the US can no longer basically defend Europe. Europe has to defend itself. So what we know is that today there is going to be, of course, these security talks in Paris, which are being spearheaded by Emmanuel Macron. Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, will be in Paris for those talks. But again, I think there is concern among the UK political elite, and that's because I don't think they're comfortable being second in command to Emmanuel Macron, because if we go back to when this war first started a couple of years ago, it was certainly Britain that was leading the Western alliance in defending Ukraine. Yes, of course, because of the sheer size of the US, they had put in vast amounts of more money than the UK did, but certainly we put billions of pounds in defending Ukraine. So I think there are concerns that perhaps is Sir Keir Starmer falling behind, and that the UK should be leading any peace talks and not be, you know, scrambling around Olaf Scholz of Germany and Emmanuel Macron. So let's see what happens today. Another major issue which is being discussed within these cold isles is the fact that defence spending in the UK has been desperately low for many, many years. There are so many reports that have come out saying that UK troops are using dilapidated weapons and machinery. This is a major discussion, and I think there are going to be some serious repercussions, not just for Europe, but also internally between Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, and Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. Rachel Reeves, very she apprehensive about spending more. But yes, I think that the sound bites that are going to be coming out of the Far East and Europe over the next couple of hours are going to be very important in terms of the New World Order.
Yeah, important indeed, Juliana. And we trust you to be our eyes following that story. But what else can we expect this week? Data, economic data, and conversations?
Quite a big week for global news, as I said, because we've got those peace talks taking place in the Far East, and then we've also got the peace talks taking place in the UK. But in terms of data, big week for Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, who I must say is on resignation watch. So much news has come out from number 11 Downing Street over the past couple of days about whether or not Rachel Reeves is good enough for this job. You know, in Westminster, she's called Rachel from accounts because people don't believe that she had the experience in the Bank of England that she claims to have had. Hence why her fiscal statement has caused so many issues within the markets, including the bond market. So we've got a set of data this week that if it's not good, I'm not sure Rachel Reeves will be Chancellor on Monday, don't quote me. And we've got UK unemployment data tomorrow, really important forensic look, an insight on the British labour market. We've also got inflation on Wednesday, again, inflation creeping up slowly. And then on Friday, we've got retail sales, which of course is going to check the temperature of consumer spending habits. So it is going to be a big one. As I said, you know, Sir Keir Starmer had publicly backed his Chancellor Rachel Reeves on countless occasions, but we are beginning to see strains. Are we going to change Chancellor at the end of the week? It's possible.
Yeah, very busy week, Juliana. Yes, I won't quote you. Well, thank you so much for that perspective and sharing the expectations for the week, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Innie.
All right, we're going to have European markets later, but it's expected to open in the mixed territory today. But during Business Incorporated, we'll have Lars Holter. Lars Holter is joining us to give us intraday numbers at that time, Ladi. But yeah. I mean, interesting that we can go around the world, and the talks, the peace talks, you know, seems to be top on the list. I don't know if it's going to overtake Trump's tariffs, right. but I know the peace talks is on, because when that war started, it affected everybody in the world. Every country felt the impact, or still feeling the impact. So everybody's eyes will be on
all eyes
that.
on it. I already got recommendations from Goldman Sachs over the weekend, you know, talking about peace talks and how that would impact, you know, natural gas, you know, prices in Europe, and they're seeing natural gas prices will actually go down. Yes. If the peace talks, you know, are favorable.
Go on. But I mean, just a little bit worried about this. UK is not involved, the EU is not involved, and these are countries that are directly affected. You know, perhaps, I don't know, I know they're meeting in Saudi Arabia, but President Trump is at the helm of affairs. Right. You know, can we have, you know...
hopefully we have all parties.
Exactly. So it should be a rounded talk with a lasting peace at the end of the day. That's what the world needs.
That's what we need right now. Peace in the world.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right.
There for giving us what's playing out in the global markets and global economies and how it impacts Nigeria. But, you know, definitely let's look at the Valentine Trade Week. That was last week. It was quite an impressive one. Over 2% rise there for our local boss. That's for last week. We put up all the trades together. It was an impressive one. Investors made quite a penny right there in the markets last week, and definitely be looking out to see how, if that, you know, sips into the trades. That's for this week. That's the week after Valentine. We'll definitely be looking out for that. At 1 p.m., we'll give you a sense of what's playing out in most of the markets that we track, from the local bourse to global markets that we track, as well as the cryptocurrency market. That's at 1 p.m. Today. Thank you so much for watching Business Morning. I'm Ladi Williams from me and the team right here at Channels HQ's. Bye for now.